Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Respected monks of the Ramakrishna mission and the Buddhist orders, other respected friends who are here, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, and special mention of Mrs. Tarakini, who sang beautiful Kabir Dhwani. Thank you very much. So we are having 3 days of talks. So at the end of the talk, please don't ask any questions. We can do that on the third day, because what you might ask might be answered in tomorrow's talk. So we don't want a premature question answer session. We can keep that for the last day. Okay? And I, as usual, am going to keep it short and sweet. Definitely you'll get 1 hour. You must have heard the music for about half an hour. And I also apologize that some people, by some mistake, thought that the talks are starting at 4 o'clock. Apparently somebody came here at 4 o'clock. I'm very sorry about that. I think wrong information in newspapers. I'm not trying to absolve myself of the crime, but you know what I mean. So, the subject is given to me by our friends. Just when I was coming, I inquired, what is the subject? Okay. Subject is Upanishads towards greater awareness. So, Upanishads and towards greater awareness are not two separate things. They are the same. So, we will start with I'm trying to explain the mantra, the Shanti mantra from the Upanishads, with which we started today's Satsang. The mantra I chanted, you all heard. It's one of the most beautiful mantras that we have ever heard of in the history of philosophy and religion. Upanishads, certain Upanishads start with this mantra. And the mantra is Purnamada, Purnam Idam, Purnat Purnamaduchyate, Purnasya Purnamataya, Purnameva Vasishyate. How do you explain this? Is the Rishi playing with words and just keep repeating Purna Purna? Or does it make sense? It's said in Sanskrit because in those days the language was Sanskrit, which most people understood. So today, unfortunately, we have to translate it. Because today if you are too qualified in Sanskrit, then you won't find a job. That is the situation. So I have to sit here and explain to you what is the meaning of this. Can you think how pathetic it is that I have to sit here and explain? Actually, if you know any of the Indian languages, it's easy to grasp. We all know Purna, completeness. One description of Purna is completeness. The other description is fullness. Fullness, completeness. Well, this fullness and this completeness can also be called nothingness, which is shunya. When I say nothing, it doesn't mean nothing, but no thing. That which cannot be defined as a thing. So, this is Purna. So the ancient rishis said, Purnam Ada. That is complete. That meaning what? That from which this entire universe has come forth and into which this entire universe perhaps goes back into. That, the word used is Purna, and when you say Purnam Atah, it means that all-pervading reality, as opposed to what we think is reality, is completeness in itself, is Purna. Now Purna, as I said, also means fulfillment. So it must also be something which is completely full and filled. Okay. Now that theoretically we can understand, okay, maybe Purnamada. Now the good news is, it also says Purnam Idam. This is also Purna. Not only that, now that is Purna is a very speculative concept, we cannot figure out. Now when you say this is Purna, it becomes even more problematic, because you say I am not complete. I am not full. If I am full, what am I seeking? But the Upanishads say Purnam Idam, this is also complete, which means what? In essence, we are part of that completeness. In essence, at the moment, confused with our little identities, this little ego which takes us around, I'm this, I'm that. This is my handbag, I can't take hers. Don't take. I mean, if you take now, they'll think you're stealing the handbag. But what I mean to say is, in this little limitedness of our concepts, we think we are incomplete, not full, empty. Emptiness in the apparent higher sense is great, but normally what we mean by empty, I don't have this, I don't have that. This is our life. And yet the rishis say, Purnam Idam. Not only is that Purna, you are also Purna. So how is this possible? These are the things we are going to examine. Purnat Purnamaduchyate. Now this Purna has come from that Purnata. Okay. But then what happens normally, if I take something from here, if I take this water, which now the glass is full, and if I drink it, what happens? This becomes less, because some has gone inside. But the Rishi says, when this Purna has come out of that Purna, that completeness does not become empty, it remains full. So it cannot be an ordinary thing that they're talking about. Talking about the ultimate essence of reality, which is fullness. Now, today we are going to start with this. So the message is this. Swami Vivekananda was very fond of a beautiful story about a pride of lions who came to kill the deer to eat. Please understand this. Lions kill only to eat, not to store in the fridge, not to sell in foreign countries, not to do, only when they're hungry. Yeah. We have just returned from Africa, from Masai Mara. There are hundreds of lions, and there are donkeys, and there are zebras, and there are deer, everything close by walking around. They don't care. So only when he gets hungry, he takes one. Unlike us. Anyway, that's a different matter. So, the story is that a pride of lions came hunting. They were hungry. Usually the male lion is like many of us, doesn't do much. Makes those roaring noises. It's the female lioness that hunts, and once the prey is killed, then the lion comes and sits and eats first. I hope we are not like that. Anyway, so this happened, and then the deer ran helter-skelter. They got frightened. So one of us is going to be killed. So in the process, in the pride, there was also a small lion cub. In this confusion, when they finished hunting and took a deer and went away, one of these cubs got lost. And the deers look at the lion cub and said, "This is a small little cub." So they adopted the cub, the lion cub. And they looked after the lion cub till it grew up a little bit. I don't know if it exactly made noises like a deer, but certainly it started behaving like a deer. When it saw lions coming, it would run and hide, eat grass. People ask, do lions eat grass? So, it's a story, okay? So, and then one day, another pride of lions came to attack, came to hunt. So they saw that among the deers, there was one fellow who looked like them. And he was running away somewhere, hiding from the lions. So he said, "What is this? I think this fellow is one of our kind. Why is he hiding here?" So they went and caught him. He started screaming because he thought he was a deer. Then they said, "Look, you're a lion, man, roar." He bleated. They said, "Come." They took him and showed him his face and the silent waters, still waters of a pond, and said, "Now look, who do you look like?" He said, "Oh, I look like you." Roar. Then he roared and he said, "Hey, I'm a lion." So Swamiji used to say that what has happened to us is that we are actually the lions, the Purna. We have begun to believe from childhood, we are taught, you are limited, you are small, you are this, you are that, you are separate. So we have begun to think that we are the deer or the sheep. And the wake-up call of the Upanishads is, when they say, "Uttishta jagrata prapya varan nibodat," which means wake up from this sleep, man, that you are a little sheep. Wake up. You are actually Purna, not incomplete. In your true essence, your completeness, and not this incompleteness, because of which we keep seeking, we keep getting hurt, we keep thinking, if I am full, why would I be hurt? For what? When I feel the fullness within me, when I know that I am part of that supreme reality. But unfortunately, this is what life is all about. I feel I am small, I feel I am a woman, I feel I am a man, I feel I am big, I am small, I am old, I am young, I don't have this, I don't have that, and I keep looking for it, desire. Well, if I say this, you will say, how am I going to live in this world? The great Gautama Buddha put it very beautifully. He said, desire is the root of all sorrow. But then, in this world, you can't live without some desire or the other. So I'm not asking you to become monks. It's difficult and impossible almost in this century we are living in. But keep this in mind, that a desire comes when you know or you feel that you're incomplete. Okay. I have 10 lakhs in the bank, in my bank account. You're saying, am I talking the Upanishads? Yes, I am. You need quotations, we will come back. But do we really need quotations? So, sometimes when you use too many quotations, it means you're not sure of what you're saying. Yes or no? The sun rises every day in the morning, right? We all know the sun. Now, if the sun is rising every day, do we need to say that in the Rig Veda it is said that the sun is rising? Maybe true, maybe written. Because the moment I say it is written in that means you're not sure if the sun has risen. But Sanskrit has its own beauty, so I can't help quoting sometimes. So let's do it. So what did I say? 10 lakhs, that it caught up with her. I wish I had said 10 crores. So I have 10 lakhs in my bank account. Okay. For some time I feel I'm happy and fulfilled, Purna. Then I begin to feel this is not enough. Because part of it you have to pay tax, all those kind of. The expenses increase. Then my aim to become complete becomes 20 lakhs. And gradually it becomes 1 crore. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying just look at it carefully. Just look at it carefully. Then it becomes 10 crores, 100 crores. Then there are ED, Enforcement Directorate raids. The money increases. And then the problems also come. But still I'm not ready to give up, because at least when I go home I can sit in the Mercedes in the back. I can have an accident, that's a different matter. I'm happy. So the feeling, the understanding is, look, you know how we are, somebody is unmarried, bachelor. I'm sure there are some free bachelors around here. I'm not saying anything, my wife is also here. There are some bachelors here. Okay, so what is the first thing in the mind when you have a good job and you have enough money and when you have a car and everything? What do you want next? I want a girl. Not enough if I see her in the office, not my secretary. I want somebody to possess. I need her with me all the time, so I want somebody. Then I get married. And then, yes, for some time there is fulfillment. For some time the wife is also fulfilled. And then there are the problems. Please, I'm not saying you should avoid any of these. I'm just saying look at the realities. That's all. We have other problems. A friend of mine told me that a yogi came to somewhere in Madanapalli many years ago, and he drew a chalk line on the floor, and he said, all unmarried people stand on this side, all married people stand on the other side of the line. So they all stood. Then he said, those who are dissatisfied with their situation in life, please cross. Everybody crossed. They went there and the others came here. This is the situation. So the solution is not in what you externally possess or earn or have, but is in the inner understanding of how to fill this emptiness. Are we really empty? If we are really empty or full? I don't know. We'll come to this slowly. Okay. Now let us look at the psychological aspect of it. I feel that I desire something. And I want it. So I work very hard for it. There's a lot of pain involved. I'm ready for jumping across any obstacle. I work very, very hard. There's a lot of stress and problem. Finally I achieve. I got it. I got it. I don't know whatever it is. I got it. फन्ना की तमन्ना है कि हीरा मुझे मिल जाए. मिल गया. Okay? Then what happens? The mind is calm and quiet and happy because I have acquired it. Right. This is for some time. After some time, there is dissatisfaction coming in. To various reasons. It could be anything. So I think that I was happy because I acquired something. Now look at this very closely, at the psychological aspect of it. What happened to the mind when it acquired something? Before it acquired something, what happened to the mind? It was earning, it was desiring to attain, it was working, it was, what do you call that? Aspiring to get something. So during that aspiring time, it was unhappy. But when it acquired, it is happy. Why? Not because the object has been acquired. Look closely. Because for a short time, the mind has ceased desiring. For a short time. Then again it starts because there are other problems, so how to get free of them. So the actual psychological fact is that when I discover that the happiness which I feel when I have acquired something is because the mind is no more earning for it. So there is peace for some time. Then it again starts. See? So therefore, the Upanishads say that when there is peace in the mind, when it is not running here, reaching out there, trying to acquire, trying to grab, then that peace is not part of any outside thing, it's part of yourself, intrinsically. It's an intrinsic part of you, which is what they mean by saying Purnam Adah Purnam Idam. And it is the experience of those who have touched it, that there is a completeness in which you understand things which the puny little brain cannot understand. In that silence and quietness of mind, which is why in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, you may be wondering why is he connecting Patanjali? What is the definition of yoga? Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. The complete quietness, the removal of all distractions of the mind. When all the distractions are removed from the mind rests in its own place. And this is not new with Patanjali. Believe me, 200 years ago, the Buddhist Yogacara scriptures talk about the same yoga which comes in Patanjali. So, this is the essential thing to understand, that completeness which we seek, because our source is completeness. We have come from that. Somewhere in the mind there is a remembrance that I am complete. And I am trying to become that in the outside world. It's actually within us. If only we can calm the mind and go to the essence. Okay. Now too much philosophy, so you might be a little bored. So before you go to sleep, I'm going to tell you a story. In the north of India, there lived a king who wanted to expand his kingdom, because his kingdom was very small. I don't want to name the kingdom, there's no harm, Patiala. Then Patiala was a very small kingdom. It was not as big as a Patiala pig, very small. So, the then ruler of Patiala decided that he wanted to expand his territory. Those days, you cannot expand your territory without taking permission from the Mughal emperor in Delhi. The Mughal emperor in Delhi was the last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, who spent all his life writing Sufi poetry. Till the revolution of 1857 or so, when the British banished him to Burma. He used to live, but he lived in the Red Fort in the palace. So you had to then get permission from the emperor before you can expand your kingdom. So he came there. Must have come several days on horseback. He was probably made to wait for many days, and then finally he came in. Then he said, I want to expand my kingdom. So please give me permission. Also, I need arms, armaments and soldiers and maybe a couple of generals to help me. So the old king said to him, suppose I give you permission and I also give you soldiers, more, and give you a general to look after this. What if occupying and expanding the kingdom, the Pathan general whom I send wants to become the king? What will happen to you? One thing. The second is, are you sure that you are going to become happier by expanding your kingdom? Think about it. Then he said, look out of the window of the Red Fort. You see a fakir sitting under a peepal tree there. A fakir, you know what a fakir is? One who has set forth on the journey, having nothing. with a begging bowl in his hand and patched robes. There's a fakir sitting there. He said, "Look out of the window." So he went and looked. And he found the fakir sitting under the peepal tree with an ecstatic smile on his face and his hand held up. Then he came back. He said, "Now look at my face. I'm the emperor of India. Look at the face of the guy sitting there. Who appears happier to you? He or me?" Now think about this carefully. And then if you have decided that you still want to expand Patiala, come back to me. So the story is that the man went back. He didn't go back to Patiala. He didn't return to the palace. Nobody knew where he went. He just disappeared. So in the kingdom they waited for a long time. The king didn't come, so the brother took over. Probably that lineage is continuing there. The brother took over. And after several years, the king, then king, wanted to go on a pilgrimage. So with a whole retinue of people, they set out. They first reach Rishikesh. You know, when you go on a pilgrimage, first you reach Rishikesh, where you see the quietness, not now anymore, where you see the rishis and the ashrams far away and the river flowing with pure water, not paper cups thrown by picnickers on Sundays as it is now, and so on. And then somebody told him, "Since you're going on a pilgrimage, why don't you take blessing from saints before you go? It's a dangerous journey." So he said, "But where are the saints?" They said, "There's a great yogi in Lakshman Jhula sitting in a cave. Why don't you go and take blessings from him?" So the whole retinue and the Maharaja went there. They bowed down and they said, "Maharaj," they saw a tall yogi sitting with matted hair, closed eyes. They said, "Maharaj, we seek your blessings to go on a pilgrimage." Maharaj opened his eyes. And his brother, who was the king, looked at his eyes and said, "God, these are familiar eyes." And he said, "We are going on a pilgrimage, please bless us." So that powerful voice of the yogi came through. The same voice which a few years ago would have said, "Cut off that fellow's head." The same voice, but in a different way. And he said, "Tathastu, so be it. Go happily." The brother recognized the voice. He said, "But brother, why are you here? I became the king because you went away. Please come back to the kingdom and take over the reins. And we are waiting for you." So the yogi said, "When you came into the cave, what did you call me?" He said, "I called you Maharaj." "You did? Yes, so I am the Maharaj of this whole universe. Why should I go to your little Patiala?" You know what I mean? So the question is, where is this that this peace can be found? Who is this reality in us? What is it that is part of that Purna? Certainly can't be just this body. It can't be the mind which is so limited. It must be something more than that. And that is the essence of every living being, not just one or two. I'm sitting here on a platform because you think I know about this. You respect me for that. At least you think I don't know. But the Upanishads say, "He who knows, knows not, and he knows not, knows." So let's forget that. So now I'm saying that even if you don't know that you are Purna, if I see that you are Purna, I need to give you equal respect, right? So in this age of controversies, of I'm this, I'm that, I'm this little sect, I belong to this, I'm black, I'm white, can we go back to the Upanishads? This is what I'm trying to say. Can we look at the glory of this great teaching that you are the Purna, that your inner essence is the same as that which pervades the universe, that in essence can be seen only when you remove or come out of this little puny little personalities and egos that we have, which actually do not exist but seem to exist. That is the fun, that's the magic of it. There is actually, if you examine carefully, you cannot find where this ego is located. And yet it is there, very strong. Where is it located? You try to find out for yourself. You can't locate a place where it is located. And yet, it seems to be the most powerful thing in us. And that guides our life, and we are miserable in the end. So, we are saying, the Upanishads are saying, that in this circus of life that we go through, the peace and the happiness and the completeness and stillness that we seek, of course we seek in some way. You can't find it when you are laid to rest, because you don't know if you are alive or dead. It's over. Rest in peace. Who knows, in peace or not, we are not aware. But now, as we are living, can we find that rest in us? And for that, you don't have to change your external appearance. This is a fashion. I went to the West, so I tried. All the young people in Amsterdam said, hey, how cute. What I mean to say, you don't have to change your shape. You need to think and figure out how you can touch the inner essence, which is the Purna, the completeness, and which is in every one of us. So if it is in every one of us, it's the light that shines in the sanctum sanctorum of every heart. When I say heart, I'm talking about the core of our being, not the organ that pumps blood, which is somewhere here. I'm talking about the core of our being, where there is a light, there is an essence, there is a blissful calmness and quietness, which Patanjali calls Kaivalya, aloneness, alone in the midst of everything, as the Kavi's song which was sung, alone in the midst of everything. Because why? Because there is nothing but that aloneness. But Kaivalya is from the root Kevalam, only. So, it's not a pipe dream. It's something that everybody can. This is the message Babaji has asked me to come and convey to everybody. It's not something far away that you cannot reach. It's here. Somebody said in a text, he is nearer to you than your own neck vein. It's in you. The divine is in you. So shouldn't we find it? Now, if you have to find it, then you need to change your idea that you're limited. Now don't get this wrong idea that because we are lions, we should roar and go and bite everybody. No. Humility is the essence of fearlessness. Fearlessness is not to jump into something and claw somebody or bite somebody. Fearlessness, like Mahatma Gandhi said, non-violence is not pacifist. It's an active thing. It's very difficult to live a life like that. But it's possible because many have done it. So why not you? This is my question. Why not you? Can we, when we get up and go from here, say, look, I'm not this puny little being that I think I am. But I am much more than, at least that much. I'm much more than this. So can I forget about the petty little quarrels I had at home? Can I throw away all these things I carry in my head like rubbish, like muck, and be free? You'll be thinking, when is he going to talk about Kriya and the Sushumna? Let's touch the basic things first. Let's touch the basic thing. So we have to change our life. Now when I say change your life, it means not only change your attitude and your thoughts and philosophical understanding of it, which we discussed. Also in daily life, suppose I realize I am complete. I still haven't touched it, but at least I suppose, I have a hypothesis that I am that. Then how can I live in this life without being too narrow? There is something called vipassana, awareness. To be aware of everything. This awareness is not just external awareness, just not internal awareness. Somewhere along the line there is a misunderstanding that to be aware, is there any other word for that? I'm sure vipassana must have some other English word, sir. It's better than awareness, I'm sure. Can you? Yes, doing everything by many ways. Okay. Which means to be insight, to have insight over everything. So, there is a misunderstanding that this insight and this awareness is only when you sit down for 10 minutes or half an hour and look at yourself and feel the inner. No, there is also the outer observation. You should also observe the outer. When you live in this world, how am I behaving? I might say I am that Purna, but I behave like total Impurna, Unpurna. So how am I behaving? Am I saying I want to find peace? And the next minute am I getting angry with somebody? I am saying I have everything and I am trying to steal somebody's watch. So what I mean to say that this observation, awareness and insight is not only to be practiced for half an hour or 1 hour every day with close, which is important as a technique. But in daily life, when I meet people, can I stay truthful? Can I be free of anger in some way? These are practices. Among the Jains, for instance, ahimsa is not a theory, it's a practice. Can I practice in daily life? If I practice in daily life, if I'm aware of my activities at every second as I live this life, then it will become easy for me to be aware when I sit quietly. Also, for this you need to require one-pointed attention. Now, how am I supposed to have one-pointed attention only for half an hour every day when I close my eyes, when throughout the day I am all scattered? So, what I mean to say is, whatever work you're doing, whatever you give it full attention. When you give full attention to it, then when you sit down, you can give full attention to in. When you give full attention to the out. So, that is why in all the philosophical schools, the religious schools, the mystical schools, a lot of stress is laid on daily life, how you live. You can't say, I will live as I like and then I will attain peace. This is not going to work. So, first learn to watch yourself. How do I behave in society? How proud am I of this little knowledge that I have? When I know that the finite mind cannot touch the infinite. Probably when the finite mind winds up, then there is the infinite. You can call it ego, mind, whatever you want to do. So, if one can start living that way, with one-pointed attention, then you will discover that the peace that you seek is nowhere to be sought. It's in your own system. And then you're Purna. You're no longer incomplete. You're complete. You're full. And it's only when there is fullness that there can be compassion. How can a beggar who has nothing give? Who is always seeking? When you are full, then you can give. Otherwise, what will you give? What you give will also be incomplete. Right? Are you serious? Or am I joking? Now, there's one-pointedness. We'll come to it gradually, little by little. Don't worry. We have 3 days. One-pointedness is, I want to tell you another story, because by now again you must be thinking, Samadhi or Shushupti. So, you know that there is a particular school of Buddhist teaching called Zen. In India, many people are fond of Zen because it is imported. In Malayalam, we have a saying that muttatte mullekku manamilla. That means the jasmine in your own garden doesn't have much of a perfume. In the other garden, it looks nice. So when you say Zen, it sounds good. But Zen is a great thing. It's a great teaching. So the founder of the Zen was a person called Bodhidharma, who went from the south of India. So he didn't travel to Japan, but he went to China. So when he went to China, and when he was living in a hill, on top of a hill, doing this with a small group of people, with no internet connections and no placards and no advertisements and no big screens, nothing. When he lived on the top of the hill, 3 students went to him asking for initiation into Zen. Now, the ultimate understanding of Zen is called Satori. It's difficult to compare the terms. You can't say Satori is Nirvana, Nirvana is Moksha. We can't define. We can say that roughly they mean the same thing. So, they went to him. So they couldn't easily find the place. Now it is very easy to find. With great difficulty they searched for days, and very tired they climbed up the hill and went to the great master and said, I don't know if you have seen the paintings of Bodhidharma. He looks ferocious, mustache, you know. So carefully they approached him. And he was sitting there. It was lunchtime for him, and drinking his soup from a wooden bowl. So these guys, after great difficulty, they reached there, and they said, they thought they had gone through a lot of pain to learn to come here. And they said, sir, we have come from a long distance with so much difficulty. Please teach us Zen. Please teach us how to attain Satori. The master was drinking his soup. So he said, while drinking his soup, he said, I am drinking my soup. He said, what is this? We have come from such a long distance. We have suffered so much. And we are asking for Zen. And he says, I am drinking. We can see it. He is drinking his soup. What's so big about it? What's so great? So they asked again. Second time when he said the same thing, he said the same thing. Third time when they asked, he called an assistant and said, give them their soup. So they ended up with 3 bowls of soup. And then it occurred to them, what a silly thing are we doing? We came here for Zen and we are sipping soup. So they said, sir, please teach us Satori, Zen. So the master said again, I am drinking my soup. So they got very upset. They said, we are also drinking our soup. So he said, no, we are not drinking your soup. You are drinking your soup and you are thinking of Zen. Me, I am drinking my soup. I am drinking my soup. I am drinking my... This is Zen. You know what I mean? So, in your daily life, whatever things you're doing, put your mind into it. In fact, the meaning of the term pratyahara in the Yoga Sutras is to be able to switch off and switch on when you want. And it comes only through abhyasa, through training. For instance, when you are driving, don't meditate. You know the danger. I don't have to. When you are meditating, don't think of your car. When you're drinking soup, you're drinking soup. When you're meditating, if you can lead your life this way, when you fully understand what you're doing, of course, you have to choose what you're doing. Don't say, I'm a murderer, so I'll keep murdering through. You have to change your life, of course. You have to see what is good for you. You should see what will give more peace to me and to others and lead a life. Okay. But whatever you're doing, give complete attention to it. If you give complete attention to it, then when you sit down to meditate, you will find that your mind is in complete arrangement. I mean, there are ways to do it, but I'm just telling you that don't divide the outer and the inner. This is what I'm trying to say. When the inner is calm, the outer is clear. When the outer is clear, the inner becomes calm. They're interdependent on each other until finally you have smashed your little personality. You can call it ego, call what you want. And then you see that you have lost nothing, actually. You have lost nothing because you have lost this little puny thing. But what you have is much more than anything you could have imagined. So, my purpose for this next 2 days, including today, 3 days, is to make you aware that one, lead a life without causing injury or harm to others. Lead a life where you can provide as much peace as possible. Consider all living things as sacred, including the trees, but don't exclude human beings. Don't say everybody is sacred, forget about the human beings. Okay? So, consider everything as sacred. Why? Because in essence everything is sacred. And take off a little bit of your time every day where you can sit down and reflect quietly without anyone disturbing you. When you do that, put up a board saying, even if the house burns down, please don't call me. I'm not serious, I'm just trying to give you a metaphor, okay? The house burns down, definitely go and douse it. But what I mean to say, at that time, make sure that nobody comes and disturbs you. If you find a monastery or an ashram or something close by, go and sit there. Beautiful. Forget it. And in your daily life, lead a life where you don't cause harm to others. Then, moderate your every action. The Bhagavad Gita beautifully says, this yoga is not for him who eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or sleeps too little. I'm quoting the Bhagavad Gita because it's also an Upanishad. Upanishads Brahma Vidyayam. So, this life, if one could lead in moderation, then the other day somebody came to me and said, sir, I know that you're not very positive about people having alcohol, but the doctor has advised me that because of my heart I should have a glass of wine every day. I said, so are you following it? He said, yes. I said, how many glasses? He said, 3, 4. So I'm not advocating that you should drink wine, even though it is vegetarian. But what I mean to say is moderation. I'm giving you an example of moderation. How you should moderate your life. You can watch TV, but don't watch whole night. You know what? So if you can bring in a little bit of moderation in your daily life, fix a little bit of time every day to start with, where you can sit quietly and meditate. We'll discuss meditation tomorrow, day after, and so on, what I mean by that. And then also try to understand the meaning of the sloka, Purnamada, Purnam Idam. This is also complete. In that completeness, you will probably find your peace. The nearest thing you can get in physical science is Einstein's theory of relativity where he says that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It's gone in the same way. That completeness is always complete. We don't see it because we think we are incomplete. We need to break the shell. Can we break the shell and come out and live like human beings? In the humility that we have much more to understand. The moment you say, I know, we are finished. Because then there is no more exploration. We have to say, let me start with understanding. Why? Because then the mind is full. And the mind that is full of muck cannot see the emptiness. And if it cannot see the emptiness, it cannot see the reality. All other things prescribed by different religious disciplines are basically to come to this understanding that inside your heart the divine rests. There is nothing more to look at. No. What did Jesus Christ say? Lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. So there are treasures. There is wonderful treasures. If you could only explore. So, I'm summing up today. After 1 hour, such things are not digested. Let me tell you, already they are thinking, where is the parking when we get out? 1 hour is the best time. We started at 6:30. It's going to be 7:30. I'll end at 7:30. Okay? So, and please reserve your questions for the last day. We can spend some time not arguing, but discussing. Please make sure to understand that argument is different from a samvad. A samvad is when you and I are sitting together and trying to solve a problem. This is a samvada. Argument is when you say you're right, I am saying I am right. So where do we go? We can't move forward. Which is defined by this beautiful sloka. I'm going to end with this, which is also sung and chanted before satsangs, before Upanishads. Sahana bhavatu. You must have heard. Reflect on it. Sahano bhunaktu. Sahaviryam karavavahai. Tejasvina vadhitamastuma vidvishavahai. Which means Sahana bhavatu. The key word is saha, you and I. May you and I, some people say I and you, I am deliberately using the word, may you and I, sahana bhavatu, be protected. Sahana bhunaktu, may both of us be nourished. Sahaviryam karavavahai, may the virility in us, you and me, increase. Tejasvina vaditamastu, may the spiritual glow of Tejas increase in you and me. Ma vidvishavahai, let's not fight with each other, quarrel with each other. Now, tomorrow's satsang, I will start with this sloka. I'm just giving you a translation. It's much deeper than that. And then we'll probably go on to the beginning of the Kena Upanishad, which talks about one's identity. It's an Upanishad called Keno, meaning who. What is you? Who are you actually? Do you really are there or you don't? You're not there. Who are you? So, Keneshitam padati prasitam manaha. This is how it starts. So, we will start with this sloka, then go to the Kena Upanishad a little bit and talk about how to approach the inner. Kena Upanishad. Think carefully about it. So, it's 7:30, exactly 1 hour. And now you can go home before it rains. When I came here, many people told me, rain is coming, you need to do something. I said, what can I do? We are in open. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much for this wonderful evening. We'll meet again tomorrow. Are you sure you're going to come? You're already sleepy. I'll speak anyway. Thank you. Thank you for all the respected elders and monks who are here. I am also connected in many ways with the Ramakrishna mission. Swami Tapasyananda, I consider him as one of my teachers. So I'm glad that there is a Swamiji of the Ramakrishna mission here. Tomorrow we'll also check a little bit on to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's teachings and so on. This was relevant to the issue. Thank you.
ಮನಸ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು, ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಗುರುಗಳೇ.
Hello, I thought you will be only in the Bharati Vidyavan, so thank you.
ನಾಳೆ ಸಂಜೆ 6:30 ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಶ್ರೀಯಮ್ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ವಿನಂತಿ 6:30 ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮುಂಚಿತವಾಗಿ, 20 ನಿಮಿಷದ ಮುಂಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಬಂದರೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಶುಭರಾತ್ರಿ.